Rain sits over the cul-de-sac like a sheet of glass. A doorbell camera across from a tan stucco house catches a sedan idling under a jacaranda. Wipers slow, exhaust a faint haze. Inside the house, a whisper reaches 911 from a pantry. The call connects. The voice falls to air. The line stays open. Patrol cars drift in without sirens. The dash cams see wet curb and mailbox numbers, a porch light that doesn't flicker. The front door is cracked. An officer announces, pushes, and steps into a narrow entry where a grocery tote lies on its side. In the kitchen, a chair is turned wrong, a drawer an inch open. In the living room, a TV remote sits mid-sofa, a blanket half folded. The frame doesn't show violence, it shows interruption. The homeowner, Elena, is on the floor near the hallway, conscious, clutching her phone hand empty. She winces at the light and turns her face away. Medics roll in, say contusion and stabilize, and start their work. Body cams watch gloves, tape, and a blood pressure cuff. No one says anything large. One officer walks the hall and peeks into a laundry room with a door to the garage. The interior door is unlocked. The exterior garage door is closed. A neighbor stands under his porch and points across the street. He holds up his own doorbell app. The video shows a sedan at the curb earlier, brake lights brightening, then dimming. He rewinds to a scoop of taillights passing twice. He doesn't know the model. It was there and then not, he says. Just sat a bit. Detectives take the scene before midnight turns over. The pantry door is narrow with wire shelves. The phone cradle is empty. The kitchen island holds a folded receipt from a convenience store, beneath a magnet and a grocery list. The receipt belongs to the ex-boyfriend, Daniel. His name appears on the loyalty line. Elena had circled it days ago to remind him about points. By morning, the air is clear. The house smells like damp cardboard. Elena gives a short statement in the hospital. She'd unloaded 2 bags and set the phone on the counter. She heard a knock but not a voice, and something like a shoe at the door. She remembers the pantry. She remembers the drawer. It was fast, she says, like someone had a path. She shakes her head once when asked if she saw a face. Daniel calls detectives before they call him. He sounds helpful. He says he was at a convenience store around the time she was attacked. He mentions the exact minute on his printed receipt. 10:59 p.m. and offers to bring it. He says he went home after, made a snack, watched a game show, then slept. He doesn't ask for Elena first. He asks, "Is the house okay?" The receipt on his phone and the paper copy match item lines and tax. The register number is the same. The paper shows 10.59 pence in thermal ink. Detectives ask the store for POS server. Clock syncs to network time. Receipt printers can drift. Logs. The manager prints a report, and the server shows the transaction 4 minutes earlier than the printer. The server syncs by network time. The receipt printer runs slow. A clerk shrugs when asked about maintenance. "We jiggle the cable," he says. "It keeps printing." Across the river road, a toll tag gantry logs a pass tied to Daniel's account at 11:03 p.m. He doesn't mention the river road. He says he took back streets. He says he didn't want traffic. He smiles when he says traffic. There wasn't any. The doorbell camera across the street from Elena's house records the idling sedan. The image is clean enough to see the angle of the rear window and the rhythm of the wipers. The car sits, brake lights waxing, then waning, then out. A porch light glows in a neighbor's glass and gives a second look at the silhouette. It isn't proof of a plate. It's a shape with habits. Detectives map a short loop. Convenience store toward the river, the gantry, the neighborhood, then away. They do not say the loop belongs to Daniel. They say the loop exists. They request bridge cameras and a city ALPR, fixed license plate cameras that flag plate hits, that sits 2 streets over. The ALPR flags a coupe consistent with Daniel's make and color in the window. The last digit of the plate is unreadable in rain. Daniel sits at the table in an interview room with his keys on a ring, the loyalty tag bright. His hands move the tag but never let it go. He repeats his route. He mentions a show he watched. He says he texted Elena earlier about a cord he left at her house last week. He leans on the word earlier as if it could grow. He says he thought about stopping by, decided not to, and went home. "Why not stop if you were close?" a detective asks. He looks at the table. "We were giving space." "Do you know who drives a dark sedan on her street?" "Lots of people." "Did you ever wait outside her house?" He shakes his head. "I wouldn't do that." The lab builds a timeline that doesn't require belief. The receipt server says Daniel bought 2 energy drinks and a bag of ice. The paper copy prints 4 minutes late. A gas station CCTV shows him at the counter earlier that night. 10:55 Suburban, scratching his jaw and tapping the card reader twice before it takes. The convenience store clerk remembers him because he asked for a bathroom code and left droplets near the mat when he came back out, like he'd rinsed his hands hard. Elena's cloud backup auto attempt when the app sees network timestamps are logged tries to start later that night when her provider app wakes on a device that isn't the phone. The IP address belongs to a carrier network on the move. The backup fails for lack of battery. The time reads 11 or P'tir. The cloud log doesn't say where the device is exactly. It says where it was when it reached up. A laundromat down the block faces the side street at a slant. Its camera holds a still of a passing car drifting south with its blinker on and never turning. The camera picks the soft pulse of the dash clock through the windshield. 2 digits, 1 colon, and the pace of the wipers. The clip is quiet. The hum of a dryer is the loudest part. At Elena's, the drawer that was open by an inch holds spare keys, a flashlight, and takeout menus. 1 key is missing from the ring imprint in the dust. The landlord points to the blank. "Front door copy," he says. He made it back in spring when Elena locked herself out after a run. Elena remembers handing it to Daniel then and asking him to keep it for a week. "I got it back," she says. "I'm pretty sure I got it back." Detectives photograph the key imprints and bag the dust. They photograph the pantry threshold, the mark on the baseboard, and a faint scuff near the deadbolt. They check the chain box. There is no chain. The front deadbolt shows a fresh scrape on the faceplate. Daniel offers his car for a look. The exterior is clean. The trunk holds a folded blanket, a cooler bag, and nothing flashy. The passenger seat has a grocery receipt beneath the mat. Dates old, crusted with a spill of sugar. The floor shows fine grit like ground ice salt, a film that turns fingers damp. A rideshare driver messages the tip email after seeing a post on the department page. His rear camera caught a figure near the neighborhood guardrail around the time of the toll pass. The figure flicks the wrist and tosses something small into the dark. The object doesn't clink on asphalt. It disappears. Detectives walk the guardrail at daylight and find nothing. They bring a magnet wand and pull up nails and a bottle cap. They bring a flashlight and see water moving over stones. A city crew opens the grate and finds leaf mulch, a plastic fork, a screw, and a quarter. The object in the video remains an idea. Elena goes home with a friend for an hour and stands in her kitchen. She sets her new phone on the island and looks at the drawer. She looks at the pantry door. She says she can smell the cold that lived in the house that night. The friend keeps a hand on her shoulder and asks if she wants tea. She says no, and then yes, and then no. She writes a list on a sticky note. New locks, motion light, dog treats for the neighbor's shepherd. Daniel's texts to Elena arrive and stack. They are not abusive. They are adjacent. Are you okay? I heard. I'm sorry this happened. Do you want me to fix the porch light? I didn't do anything. He sends a photo of his TV paused on the game show board. There is no clock in the frame. The handset timestamp places the photo earlier than he says he watched. The DA's office asks for clean labels for each artifact. The lead detective writes one-line summaries and tapes them to file pockets. POS server versus paper receipt. Offset 4 minutes earlier. Toll pass on Daniel's account at 111.03 Paikyan. Doorbell across street. Sedan idling under jacaranda. Gas station CCTV at 10:55 in Siang. Cloud backup restart at 11:08 mark range from carrier IP. The labels are small, the pockets are thick. Daniel's interview circles the same spots without landing. He sounds injured when he says he cares about Elena. He sounds careful when he answers questions that touch the street by her house. He never asks if her phone was taken. He asks if the house is locked now. When they let him go after the first round, he walks to his car and sits with the door open. He checks his watch, then his phone, then the rear view. He raises the visor and looks at himself. He lowers it and drives away without turning on the headlights until the driveway apron ends. Back at the table, the detectives draw a map. It is not art. It is a series of rectangles connected by a river road and a bridge. They plot the store, the toll gantry, automated reader that pings the windshield tag, the neighborhood, the guardrail, and Daniel's complex. They mark the points that have clocks. The store's server, the gantry, the cloud, the gas station camera, and they mark the ones that do not. The doorbell, the laundromat, the rideshare. The map is straightforward and still. It does not tell them why. It tells them where enough to start asking again. They ask again. Detectives start with clocks and edges. They rarely argue. They pull the convenience store's back office PC and export raw logs. The POS server time is synced to network time. The receipt printer runs on its own chip. It is 4 minutes slow. The manager signs an affidavit. He looks tired. He says the paper rolls jam when it rains. A tech checks Daniel's paper receipt under oblique light. No folds from a pocket. A faint heat smear near the timestamp, like fingers warmed it while he waited. The items match the server entry. The minute does not. They ask the city for every camera on the loop. Bridge cams, intersection domes, the lot cam outside Daniel's complex, a utility pole camera near the cul-de-sac. The feeds arrive as small drives with big labels. One by one, they settle. The bridge records headlights moving west. A rain sheet hangs like beads. A coupe crosses at the time the toll gantry pegs Daniel's tag. The roof line matches his model. The rear glass angle is right. It is not a plate. It is a shape with a repeated cut. They look again at Elena's neighbor's doorbell clip. The sedan idles under the jacaranda. It breathes red on wet trunks. The wiper cadence is slow, then skips once. Detectives hold the sound up to the gas station clip. The count is the same. Daniel brings his phone to help. He slides it on the table with the lock screen lit. face down by habit. He unlocks it when asked. The camera roll shows TV stills, dinners, a hiking trail 3 weekends back. He scrolls and stops before the night in question. "May we run a quick capture?" Ramos asks. He nods. They mirror the camera roll and message logs. A photo of a game show board sits between memes. The EXIF shows a capture time that doesn't match his memory. Time zone set to auto. Phone toggled in and out of airplane mode that evening. The offset is the same 4 minutes they see in the receipt printer drift, but in the other direction. He shrugs at the mismatch. "I'm bad with settings," he says. "Why airplane mode?" "Battery," he says. "Were you traveling?" "No." "Any reason the game show photo was taken earlier than you said you watched?" It repeats, he says. Reruns. Digital forensics lays the night as a ledger. 10:55 in Sir gas station CCTV, Daniel at the counter. 10:59 paper receipt, 4 minutes slow. 11:03 in a toll gantry, tag ping under his account. Doorbell across from Elena, sedan idling shortly after. 11:08, the cloud backup tries to start from a phone that is not hers, on a carrier IP on the move. Elena's 911 call sits open and breathes without words between these points. The ledger has more ink than adjectives. They ask Elena about spare keys again. She frowns at the empty imprint in the drawer dust. She remembers lending the copy to Daniel when he fed the cat. "I got it back," she says. "I think I got it back." Her hands cover the drawer. She pulls them away and looks at the pantry like a narrow hallway she can still feel. The landlord provides his key log. 1 hardware store cut in spring. 1 replacement in summer after a lockout. No record of a third. He keeps the shop tags rubber banded. The tag for Elena's unit is clean. It has only 2 creases. They cross-check Daniel's tag account. 2 cars registered, the coupe and an old SUV he says he rarely drives. The ping at 11:03 Pantakiavhors belongs to the coupe. The system prints the account name next to the last 4 of the tag. It is not his phone. It is a sticker under his windshield. Daniel asks if he can see Elena to apologize. He cannot. He asks if the house is changing locks. It is. He nods like that is generous and necessary. They canvass the river lot by daylight. Skid marks curve and end. Cigarette butts ring a metal trash can. A drone lifts and looks for footprints by the guardrail. The rain has remade the ground. A fisherman in a green rain jacket watches and offers nothing. A rideshare driver drops off footage at the desk. His rear cam watched the guardrail the night of the toll pass. A figure pauses. The hand flicks. Something small disappears into dark. The driver says he thought it was litter, then didn't. He never saw a splash, only a shrug. They bring a magnet wand and a fine mesh scoop to the culvert. They pull up, rinse, pull again. Nails. A tab from a can, a washer. No key, no fob. No proof that the toss mattered. Proof is stubborn. It lives where hands cannot go. Daniel returns for a follow-up with counsel. He is less helpful now. "Why the river road?" Ramos asks. "Habit," he says. "Your first route earlier was side streets," Chu says. "Traffic," he says, and smiles the same wrong smile. Then I thought the river was clear. "Did you drive past Elena's block?" "I don't remember." "Did you park?" "No." "Did you wait?" "No." "Do you own a spare key to Elena's house?" He looks at his lawyer. "No." "Did you ever copy one?" "No." "When did you return the landlord's spare?" "I don't track keys," he says. Elena's new phone starts clean. She agrees to a controlled call. She dials. He picks up on the 3rd ring. "I'm scared," she says. The drawer was open, the pantry. It felt like you knew the path. I would never, he says. You know me. Did you stop by? I was home. You left a key with me, remember? Months ago, he says. We worked it out. Did you get it back? He exhales. You always forget the small things, he says. I'm not doing this again. The prosecutor circles the call transcript. It is not an admission. It is a voice that knows the kitchen. Forensics pulls tiny numbers from the cloud log. The 211.8 attempt rides a carrier IP that moved from a tower on the river road to a sector near Daniel's complex in under half an hour. Not a precise route, but a curve. The backup failed because the device's battery died. The app tried, reached up, and fell. They returned to the convenience store. The same clerk stands under buzzing lights. Security video shows Daniel pause half a step before leaving, then step back and look at the receipt printer. He waits while it spits and curls. He tucks the paper flat into his wallet. He glances at the wall clock. It is wrong by minutes and hanging crooked. He doesn't look at the small digital clock under the register that is right. Do you know him? Ramos asks. Comes in, the clerk says. Always asks for the bathroom code. Did he ask that night? Twice, the clerk says. Wet hands after. A tech dusts Elena's drawer recess and faceplate. The prints are smudged by the rain air and the medics moving through the hallway. One partial lifts. It is too light for a match. The baseboard by the pantry shows a new mark like rubber shoe. Angle shallow. Pressure even. It means someone planted a foot there, fast or precise. They examine Daniel's coupe again under better light. The rear mat shows salt grit and a wet ring dried hard. The trunk liner carries a faint scent like freezer burn. The rear bumper's inside lip has a gray smear. It wipes to primer dust. Bodywork? Chu asks. I told you, Daniel says, a shopping cart. Why primer when it's raining? He shrugs. I was bored. They check his phone's significant locations log with a warrant. It shows home, the store, the river lot. It does not show Elena's street. He turned location services off earlier that week. The gap is a hole shaped like intention. An analyst aligns the EXIF clock on the TV photo against network time the phone saw when it rejoined service. The photo lands before the store run. He took it, then left. He says rerun. The station says live quiz with a special host. The special host aired at a different time the next day. He did not watch both. The DA asks for a charging memo with no flourishes. The memo reads like a list. Receipt server time versus printed time establishes 4-minute drift. Toll tag places vehicle near River Road at 11:03 by Nikki and contrary to stated side street route. Doorbell across street shows sedan idling consistent with make model. Cloud backup attempt from carrier IP at 11:08 p.m. indicates contact with victim's account from a moving device not in the home. ALPR near neighborhood flags, similar plate in window. EXIF metadata on entertainment photo inconsistent with claimed viewing time. Phone toggled airplane mode. Drawer key imprint suggests missing copy. Landlord confirms only 2 authorized cuts. They arrest him quietly on burglary and aggravated assault. He keeps his chin high and his voice low. He asks about bond. He asks nothing about Elena. He asks if the porch light will get fixed. It will. He sits for intake. In his property bag, the loyalty tag with his name. A thin wallet, a phone with auto time zone toggled on, a receipt with ERD's 10.59 por in soft gray. The bag is clear plastic and noisy when it moves. Motions follow. Defense calls the receipt a misleading artifact and the toll tag, a different driver borrowing a car. The state points at account names and camera shapes. The judge holds the receipts up and says, "Juries understand clocks." Elena returns to class. She parks under a light and walks with a friend. She keeps her new phone on the counter in a bright case. She teaches her neighbor's shepherd a new trick at the fence. She notes when the pantry door closes without noise. On a quiet morning, a city crew vacuums the culvert again before a storm. A fob could be anywhere. It could be nowhere. The detective with the magnet wand sends one last sweep and pulls up a small screw and a coin. She stops. She is not fishing. She is checking places where stories hide. The plea offer is narrow. It asks for time and no trial. He hesitates, then declines. The case goes forward. At trial, the state walks the jury through the map of minutes. The receipt printers drift. The POS servers sync. The toll gantries ping. The river road loop. The doorbells idle. The cloud backups reach. The TV photos EXIF. The drawer's missing key. The story never uses the word always. It uses consistent with until the shape is clear. The verdict finds him guilty of burglary and assault. The court speaks softly about homes, clocks, and paths people think are theirs. He stares at the table and nods once when the word burglary is read. Elena sits with a friend and breathes. After, the scene resets. The jacaranda drops purple on the curb. The doorbell across the street watches nothing. The pantry door closes and stays closed. The receipt printer at the store gets a new cable. The toll gantry keeps counting cars in rain that looks like glass. The cloud waits for good batteries. The loop loosens until it isn't one. Sentencing comes on a clear morning. The courtroom is small. The judge reads from notes. Burglary in the first degree. Aggravated assault. He talks about houses and how doors mean something. He notes the clocks, the loop, the drawer, the reach of a phone that wasn't there. He does not say stalking. He stays with the counts. Years are set with supervision after no contact and a long bar on proximity. Daniel stands straight and says nothing. He glances once at the gallery, then at his cuffed hands. When the deputy touches his elbow, he moves without resistance. Elena files the impact statement on paper. She does not read it aloud. It fits on one page. She writes about the pantry and the drawer and how she checks the hall light before sleep. She writes that studying is harder and friends now walk her to the car. She thanks the neighbor with the doorbell camera and the clerk who checked the printer clock. She asks the court to keep the order firm. After the hearing, Ramos returns the last items the rules allow. A plant mister, a small USB charger, a sweater that stayed in an evidence bag. She explains what remains sealed and why. Elena nods. She has new locks and a motion light over the side yard. The landlord installed a solid strike plate. The neighbor's shepherd has learned to sit when the porch light clicks on. Digital forensics closes the ledger. They archive the POS report, the toll logs, the doorbell clips, the gas station footage, the cloud record, the rideshare segment, and the ALPR stills. Each folder name starts with a date. The watch word list includes the nickname string that leaked once and then never again. The chain of custody ends with signatures and timestamps. The case file now reads like a map of ordinary things that lined up. Defense withdraws the appeal on the suppression rulings. The brief would have said novel technology and privacy harms, but the record is tight. The judge's order about limited event-triggered smart speaker clips and router logs obtained with occupant consent stands. The case will be cited in a small way, under a number that begins with the year. Elena changes routines without making them rules. She sets a lamp on a plug timer for evenings. She parks under a different light. She doesn't keep spare keys in the drawer anymore. The landlord keeps a coded lockbox. She leaves the pantry door on a soft, close hinge so it won't bounce. At night, she checks the deadbolt and the strike once. She stops checking twice. Ramos and Chu finish their report with a short paragraph that uses consistent with twice and, according to logs, once. They keep adjectives out. They write that the timeline converged. Server versus receipt time. Toll tag at 11:03 p.m. Neighbor doorbell idle. Cloud backup at 11:08 p.m. from a moving IP. ALPR near the block. EXIF offset. The missing key impression. And a route that turned from story to fact when the pieces met. Months pass. The store replaces the printer board. The time matches now. The toll gantry gets a new coat of reflective paint. The river lot drains after storms. The rideshare driver mounts a better rear camera and keeps his email on the department bulletin. The neighbor trims the jacaranda and sweeps purple petals into a low pile that sticks to the curb in rain. On a quiet evening, Elena walks to her door with a friend. The porch light holds. The friend waits while she turns the key and steps inside. The kitchen is ordinary on purpose, a folded receipt under a magnet, a clean counter, a drawer that closes and stays closed. The doorbell lens watches wet concrete and nothing else. The night remains straight.